Welcome to Fireside Gaming. I'm Billum, and today we're taking a look at the original Metal Slug. This is the first game in a series of run and guns that launched back in 1996. Metal Slug is a series that I've always loved ever since I first experienced it, even if I can't remember exactly when that was. See, I didn't own any of these games as a kid, and I'm not sure where I first played them. I do always remember talking about the series with one of my friends from high school, but I can't recall if we ever actually played them together. Maybe that's a sign that I'm getting old. Either way, the first Metal Slug game is simple enough. Players take on the role of Marco Rossi or Tarma Roving, depending on if they're player 1 or 2. These two are members of the Peregrine Falcon Squad, which is a small but elite group of soldiers seen throughout the games. Marco and Tarma are tasked with destroying all enemy Metal Slugs and basically kicking the crap out of the rebel army. There's not a whole lot of story to go through, instead the game cares more about action, and boy is there loads of that. Metal Slug is a run and gun that throws a ridiculous amount of enemies at the player as they progress to the right, blasting them along the way. The game also throws a ton of upgrades at the player as well. That includes machine guns, rocket launchers, grenades, shotguns, flamethrowers, and much more. Of course, we can't talk about Metal Slug without bringing up Metal Slugs. These are the name of tanks in the game. They can traverse just about any land, have the ability to jump, and also come equipped with a cannon and a machine gun. It's always a blast to find one of these during a level, and I can't get over how fun they are. Even if aiming the machine gun is a bit wonky because it's on the same joystick that's tied to movement. It's also worth pointing out that Metal Slug features co-op for 2 players. The game is already filled to the brim with action and things on screen, and adding a second player just makes the game even more hectic. But it's not a bad hectic. Instead, it's a get caught up in the sheer amount of action and keep playing no matter what kind of hectic. In that regard, Metal Slug does exactly what it's supposed to do. It hits the player with enough fun and challenge that they'll want to keep popping in quarters until they beat the game. Yeah, Metal Slug was originally an arcade game. I'd argue that it's one of the better ones when it comes to respecting the player's finances, but there's no getting around that negative stigma arcade games can have about being quarter munchers. At least, that's what I would normally say if it wasn't for the fact I'm not playing the arcade version of Metal Slug. I picked up my copy on Steam. The game is only $8 there, and if that's too much, it often drops down to $4 during sales. The biggest advantage of owning a home console version of Metal Slug is that it doesn't require quarters. Players still have credits, and running out does mean game over, but they can also give themselves as many credits as they like. In this way, Metal Slug acts as the perfect run and gun to introduce people to the genre with. They get to experience all the fun of the game without dropping endless amounts of quarters into it, while also not having to worry about a game over. On that same note, this means that those seeking additional challenge can choose to do so through personal limitations, such as limiting the amount of credits you allow yourselves during a run. I've also got to mention that Metal Slug doesn't take too long to beat. A normal run through the game will only take the player about half an hour. The same is true for co-op as well. Even with that limited playtime, Metal Slug doesn't get stale. It's a great game to play through multiple times just because of how fun it is. Another positive of the Steam version is that it supports remote play. This means that only one person has to own a copy of the game to be able to play it with friends online. Of course, it also supports traditional couch co-op as well. So at this point, you might be wondering what makes Metal Slug stand out. What makes it worth playing over, say, Contra? To put it simply, Metal Slug has a goofy charm all of its own that shouldn't be missed. This can be seen all throughout the game. Not only is the story both serious and silly, but the graphics also reflect this. The cartoony way in which enemies react to being surprised, the sheer craziness that is some of the enemy types, and more all add up to this. It gives the game a strong identity, and it's one I've always enjoyed. It also helps that SNK was an absolute master of pixel art, and this game is a shining example of that. There are just so many minute details etched into the backgrounds of this game. It goes by quick due to the high-speed nature of Metal Slug, but take some time to really look at it and you'll see some of the best sprite art there is here. Adding to that, the game's audio is a real joy. Sure, it has wonderful music and explosions, but there's also the over-the-top enemy screams, as well as how some weapon names are said. I will never not smile when I pick up a rocket launcher in this game. The way the announcer says it is just so goofy, and I love it. Rocket launcher! It's to the point that I'm that annoying friend that says it like the announcer does anytime I pick one up in the game. Closing out this review, it won't come as much surprise that I recommend playing Metal Slug. The series is hands down the definitive run and gun experience as far as I'm concerned. Its extreme gameplay with loads of enemies on screen and ridiculous upgrades combined with the overly cartoon expressions and audio make it something special. I'll be continuing to look at some of the other Metal Slug games as well in future retrospectives. So if this is a series you enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on that. As always, thank you for watching, and take it easy!